Let's welcome Loren Angelo.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon. It is good to be here today. Thank you for inviting us out from Audi. We're very honored to be here and to join you today and tell you a little bit about our story, which I think is an exciting one. Hopefully we can entertain you here. Let you learn a little bit more about the inner workings of what's been going on within Audi over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, which is what I'll focus on. Because I know all of you with your history with this brand probably know the ins and outs of what we've been through in the automotive business. So there's a lot of momentum behind Audi right now, and I think that's the exciting thing to talk about. I mean, you're going to hear a certain level of enthusiasm coming from me because we've excelled and we've achieved a great deal, and we have a long way to go. I'll show you some of the insights into the initial numbers as to where we stand today, but we know that it's a competitive marketplace. We've got a lot of smart competitors out there in the business, but we know that with the formidable brand story, the great product story that we have, that we can really make some further advances in the U.S. market. So I'd like to first just give a little bit of a background on where we stood. You know, when we look at the challenges that we faced in America, I'm going to kind of trickle back to 2006 at this point and give you a little bit of some of the challenges that we faced and some of the things we physically had to do within our organization. We first needed to kind of establish some long-term goals and set some really high bars for us from a marketing and overall from a business standpoint to get to kind of moving through the challenges that we've all faced when the economy goes south or when you're facing challenges with it amongst key competitors. You need to have some long-term goals in place to further set yourself as to this is what we're all on the same track for. So our goal continues to be that by 2015 we want to be perceived as the #1 premium brand. We have a whole host of goals and metrics and KPIs that will ultimately get us to that point, and those are the things that we will consistently stand behind. But to get us there, we need to do a couple of key things. A couple of key things that just simply didn't exist for the Audi brand a few years ago. The first was to really increase popularity. We were a brand that's been relatively quiet in the U.S. market, one that's had a certain level of isolation. Those were in the creative class. Those were tremendous automotive enthusiasts. You knew about the brand. You were excited about it, but those stories weren't shared. The brand didn't expand significantly. We had a relatively small product lineup for a long time, so we need to first increase that popularity to get to these goals. The second thing was to be progressive. We need to solidify our position in the U.S. marketplace and really isolate a positioning that's unique. And we think that we have progressive products in the marketplace. We're introducing progressive technologies, whether it's our TDI clean diesel or our aluminum space frame, or things like our Quattro technology that we've engineered with all-wheel drive over the course of the last 30 years. Things like that really set us apart, and that comes from our engineers. It comes from the way that we propel the brand forward and utilize those things in context of the vehicles that we bring to the marketplace each day. And then the last thing is building prestige. The reality is to be a premium player in the U.S. market and to have someone convinced that they need to spend $90,000 on an A8, they need to feel that they are buying into a certain level of prestige, something that they feel comfortable driving into their country club in, something that they feel confident in, that they're going to have a premium experience with. And if you can't convince them that we are a brand that delivers that level of prestige, then we're certainly not going to get to this very lofty goal. So these are the key things that we need to focus on, and they're the things that kind of keep us on the straight and narrow as we go through difficult times like we did in the last year. So the first and most important thing from a marketing standpoint that we looked at was moving the consideration needle. The reality is we were at a point in 2006 where we were only at about 36% in consideration. That was well below any tier 1 player like Mercedes-Benz or BMW, when we were more falling into the lower tier segment of other brands that just simply aren't on consumers' radar screen. So when you ask someone, oh, did you consider Audi? They're like, oh, well, not necessarily. Yeah, I've heard about that brand. It wasn't necessarily the case. What we've done is we've excelled that forward, almost doubled our numbers. We're up 58% overall as of the latest figures this year, and we've started to get on consumers' radar screens. We're starting to build popularity, and we're starting to build opinion about the brand, and we'll go through some of the things that have really driven that. The other thing that's really important is raising that level of awareness, getting consumers actually excited about Audi and actually having them hear about it and say, oh yeah, I did notice that dealership. Oh, I did notice that car with those LED lights. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I saw some of their advertising out there. If you're not on consumers' awareness button and you're not on their radar screen, you're certainly never going to get down to the point when they're deciding that they're coming off lease or they're getting ready to purchase their new car to be on that shopping list. So we needed to do those things. What we're really excited about when you look at this chart is just our opinion numbers. Excellent opinion is actually up 65%. We've seen opinion jump about 20% over the course of the last 3 years. Those are pretty significant gains for a brand that, yes, it has had a certain level of recognition in the U.S. marketplace, but it was certainly nowhere near where some of the key luxury players like a Mercedes-Benz, a BMW, or Lexus are in the U.S. market. So excellent opinion we're really excited about because that immediately starts to translate to it's a brand I have confidence in. Another thing that we really had to kind of adjust in context of our business, you know, we're talking about getting our house in order, and the things that we needed to move forward with and really consider changing were the complexity of our products. And this is just a chart that kind of gives you an indication by our full product lineup that we have here. Between 2009, and you see Q7 and A8 were some of the biggest offenders of this, and to 2010, we've actually reduced complexity significantly in our vehicles, the way that we've equipped them. So, you know, you might ask, why is this important to us? Why is this a critical figure? The reality is complexity drives a whole host of business issues that we face within our organization. And one is, if your vehicles are too complex, it causes a problem for consumers and for our dealers. The vehicles are too complex. You come into the store, you wanted to buy an A4 that has equipment like this, this, and this. Well, we may not have that car. All right, well, so as a consumer, you're trying to figure out, well, why don't we have that with this option? Can I get this option or not? It causes a challenge immediately when someone's coming in, so you have a demand issue. Second thing is you face a dealer problem. Well, look, dealer starts checking, can I get that car? Dealers are having shipped cars from one location to another. We have a relatively small dealer body as it stands right now, so you're just offering, again, another level of challenge into the system. And the last thing is when you start to look at overall complexity, once a car is first sold and you look at residual values down the road, the reality is options, when you look at sport packages, sports seating, better technology in your, that come with your music systems and so forth, the reality is those don't translate into the after-sales market, and you immediately start to drop off. People just aren't interested in buying into those options, and so they don't stand a strong chance in the residual value space. So if we didn't get this area of our business in order and make our vehicles better equipped when giving our dealers and giving our consumers the cars that were the way that they wanted them, we were going to have a bigger challenge going down the road. We'd kind of be in the same cycle that we've been in for a number of years. And just to use an example of this with the A4, we look at a comparably equipped A4 with transmission and trim levels, and we start to move over to the option areas that are offered on the A4 versus the 328i. You start to see that there's actually about 2,000 various option packages you could put onto an A4. You translate to about over 8.6 million when it comes to the BMW 3 Series. And the reality is that's great for BMW that they're able to offer that. For us, this puts us in a much more competitive business situation because we can offer consumers the best products, with the best equipment packages that they want. It offers a better solution for our dealers overall, and it makes us much more competitive from a pricing standpoint in the marketplace. And talking about residual values, because I think that that's an important case in this business area, we've advanced significantly. We were in actually 7th place back in 2005, and we've actually moved that up to almost 3rd place, well above some of our key luxury competitors, and we're kind of knocking at the door of the two top brands, Lexus and Acura, which is a tremendous move for a brand that, again, was in almost last place just a few years ago. And a lot of that came from changing the way that we're looking at the business, changing the products that we're bringing to the marketplace, and changing the way that we're approaching the business moving forward. The other thing that we're really excited about, and it was obviously, like I said, there's a lot of history with this brand, and it didn't exist before. When you look at the black represents our exclusive dealers, ones that have a full Audi franchise, a full store dedicated to Audi. The other are brand dedicated, which means within their dealer space, they have a brand dedicated environment to Audi, although they may have another franchise within it. And then universal means that they could have multiple brands represented within their store location. We've seen a dramatic increase when we look at our exclusive and brand dedicated stores, up 92% as of April of this year. Real excitement that we've seen dealers come on board. Talked about how we've changed some of our products in the marketplace. Talked a little bit about how we've lifted our awareness. Dealers are excited about the Audi brand. They know that, one, they're making money off of it. Two, we're driving a lot of demand. People are coming into those stores, and they're embracing that by really providing a brand experience when consumers are coming in. And that's a fantastic situation to be in when just a few years ago, our dealers were just surviving out there, selling the products that they were offered. They weren't looking to bring new consumers in or really embrace the Audi brand with more money behind it. These are significant commitments when it comes to the dollar figures dealers are putting behind the business today. One other area that's kind of interesting that we wanted to point out was the fact that the brand is conquesting right now. And I think that this is no surprise in light of what you all know has faced the automobile industry over the course of the last 2 years. There have been a lot of challenges in context of the luxury market shrinking to a certain extent. And what you see represented here in red, which this is just a difference of 2 years, of 2008 versus 2009, is all the people that were actually defecting from Audi and leaving it to go to brands like BMW, Lexus, and Infiniti, and Toyota. We did have a few coming in from Acura and Mercedes, but relatively small figures. What we've seen is this dramatic change when you move just to 2009. Everything represented in gray means we're bringing more consumers in. We're conquesting from a whole host of other brands, which is what you have to do in context of a shrinking marketplace. But what we've seen is that it's pretty dramatic across the board. Competitors in the luxury set as well as those that are actually stepping up into a luxury automobile. And so we've seen pretty significant gains in that area as well. And again, a lot of this comes from getting our business in order and really changing the way that people think about the Audi brand in the marketplace. And so all those things are great. It's nice to be able to talk about. We've changed our business model to a certain extent. We've adjusted the product mix that we have in the marketplace, and our dealers are excited about it. But if it doesn't translate to a share gain, a sales goal ultimately in the end, and increases in those areas, then you're kind of just talking to yourselves. And what's really been important, and the thing that we're really excited about, is that it has actually translated. We've moved from a 5.3% share in 2004, and over the course of 6 years, we've actually come to an 8.9% goal. So significant gains here. This number continues to bounce around, and we continue to be up. When we look at this year, we're already up 25% overall versus last year in a sales gain area. So we're really excited about the numbers that are actually translating, and it's a real demonstration of the consumer demand. Consumers are excited about the products that we have, and they're coming into our stores, and they're shopping the brand, and they're putting it on their consideration list. So a little bit of look at how we've actually elevated the brand and given a certain level of excitement to it. There's really 4 key things to this area when we think about how Audi marketing has really changed kind of the course of action over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. The first thing is taking it from this quiet alternative brand, one that didn't have a lot of recognition. Again, known by the creative class, known by those motorsports enthusiasts, known by those within the core business area. But it